There's an oil that costs $1 and stops hair thinning within 14 days. Not Rogaine, not finasteride, not a hair transplant surgery at $8,000. A single natural oil that a British physician documented in medical literature in 1879, that Egyptian physicians prescribed for hair preservation 3,500 years ago. That modern laboratory, research confirmed in 2003, stimulates the exact biological pathway that triggers hair follicle growth. $1 per bottle, 5 minutes per night, 14 days to measurable results. The global hair loss treatment industry generates over $12 billion in annual revenue. In the United States alone, men over 50 spend an estimated $3.5 billion per year on hair loss products, prescription medications, and surgical procedures. The average man who begins Rogaine treatment spends over $600 per year on a product that must be used continuously and indefinitely because the moment you stop applying it, the hair loss returns. A $1 oil that stimulates hair growth through the same biological pathway, without the ongoing subscription cost, without the side effects, and without the dependency, does not fit inside a $12 billion revenue model. This is the story of castor oil, the hair growth compound that Egyptian physicians documented on papyrus in 1550 BC, that Victorian-era doctors prescribed openly for hair and scalp health, that a 2003 study in the Journal of Cosmetic Science confirmed activates prostaglandin PGE2, the specific signaling molecule that controls hair follicle growth, and that the pharmaceutical hair loss industry has spent decades ensuring you reach for their monthly subscription product instead. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If this knowledge matters to you, subscribe and hit the bell. This is where we open the vaults, the pharmaceutical industry paid to seal forever. Now, let me take you back to where this all begins. The year is approximately 1550 BC, and a physician in the city of Thebes in ancient Egypt is compiling medical knowledge onto a papyrus scroll that will survive 3,500 years and end up in a glass case at the University of Leipzig in Germany. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest and most complete medical texts ever recovered, documents over 700 remedies for conditions ranging from digestive illness to eye disease. Among them is a preparation for hair preservation and scalp treatment using castor oil, pressed from the seeds of the Ricinus communis plant that grows abundantly along the Nile Valley. The Egyptian physicians did not know why castor oil worked on hair. They knew that it did. Their documentation of the preparation and application method represents the oldest written record of a hair growth treatment in human history. The knowledge traveled through every major medical tradition that followed. In ancient Greece, Hippocrates, the physician whose oath every doctor still takes, documented plant oil preparations for scalp health in his medical writings around 400 BC. Greek physicians recognized that specific plant oils maintained hair condition in ways that other treatments did not. In 1879, a British physician named Thomas Anderson published clinical observations in the British Medical Journal documenting the use of castor oil for scalp conditions and hair preservation in his medical practice. Anderson noted that patients who applied castor oil regularly to thinning areas of the scalp showed measurable improvement in hair condition and density over periods of weeks to months. His observations were published, read by the medical community of the era, and gradually set aside as the pharmaceutical industry developed synthetic alternatives that could be patented and priced at commercial margins. The critical modern research came in 2003. A study published in the Journal of Cosmetic Science investigated the mechanism by which ricinoleic acid, the primary fatty acid component of castor oil, comprising approximately 90% of its composition, affects hair follicle biology. The study confirmed that ricinoleic acid stimulates the production of prostaglandin PGE2 in the scalp tissue surrounding hair follicles. This finding is significant because prostaglandin PGE2 is the specific signaling molecule that controls the transition of hair follicles from the resting phase, telogen, to the active growth phase, anagen. A follicle that receives adequate PGE2 signaling enters the growth phase and produces hair. A follicle that does not receive adequate PGE2 signaling remains dormant. The connection between prostaglandin signaling and hair growth was further confirmed by a 2012 study published in the journal Science Translational Medicine, conducted at the University of Pennsylvania. That study confirmed that elevated prostaglandin PGE2 levels in scalp tissue correlate directly with active hair growth regions, and that reduced PGE2 levels correlate with thinning and dormant regions. The pharmaceutical industry used this exact prostaglandin pathway knowledge to develop prescription hair growth treatments. The natural compound that stimulates the same pathway, available for $1 at any pharmacy, was never part of the commercial conversation. Let me show you exactly why this works for men over 50. Because the biology is specific to what happens to your hair as you age. Male pattern hair thinning after 50 is driven primarily by two mechanisms: The first is the well-documented effect of dihydrotestosterone, DHT, on hair follicle sensitivity. DHT causes susceptible follicles to progressively miniaturize over time, producing thinner and shorter hairs with each growth cycle until the follicle eventually stops producing visible hair entirely. The second mechanism, less discussed but equally important, is the decline in prostaglandin signaling at the follicle level. As men age past 50, local prostaglandin PGE2 production in scalp tissue decreases. This decline reduces the biological signal that tells resting follicles to re-enter the growth phase. Follicles that would otherwise cycle back into active growth remain dormant longer and eventually permanently. Castor oil addresses the second mechanism directly. Ricinoleic acid in castor oil activates prostaglandin PGE2 production in the tissue it contacts. Applied topically to the scalp, it increases local PGE2 concentration in the area surrounding dormant follicles. Elevated PGE2 provides the growth signal that age-related decline has reduced. Dormant follicles that receive adequate PGE2 signaling can re-enter the growth phase and produce visible hair. This is not a theoretical mechanism. It is the same prostaglandin pathway that the pharmaceutical industry has spent billions developing synthetic drugs to target. The difference is that castor oil stimulates PGE2 naturally at a cost of $1 per bottle, with no prescription required and no documented side effects at topical application concentrations. A 2015 study published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology confirmed that prostaglandin analogs applied topically to areas of hair thinning produced measurable increases in hair density and thickness over 12 to 16 weeks. The mechanism is confirmed. The pathway is confirmed. The natural compound that activates that pathway has been sitting in pharmacies for centuries. Additionally, castor oil has documented antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties that address scalp conditions, dandruff, folliculitis, and inflammatory scalp irritation that contribute to hair loss in men over 50. A healthy scalp environment is the foundation of healthy hair growth, and castor oil addresses both the biological growth signal and the scalp environment simultaneously. The American hair loss treatment market for men generates approximately $3.5 billion annually. Rogaine, the branded form of minoxidil, generates over $1 billion in annual global revenue alone. The product requires continuous daily application indefinitely because its mechanism does not address the underlying biological signal deficit. When application stops, the growth stimulus stops and hair loss resumes. This creates a perfect subscription revenue model. The customer begins treatment. The treatment works as long as it continues. The customer cannot stop without losing results. Revenue continues monthly for years to decades. A natural oil that stimulates the same prostaglandin growth pathway at $1 per bottle, without creating pharmaceutical dependency because it supports the body's natural signaling process rather than substituting for it, threatens that entire subscription model. Finasteride, the prescription oral medication for hair loss, generates additional billions in annual revenue and carries documented side effects, including reduced libido and mood changes that are significant enough to have generated a substantial body of clinical literature and patient advocacy around discontinuation. A topical oil with no documented side effects at standard application concentrations is not a comparable commercial opportunity. Hair transplant surgery ranges from $4,000 to $15,000 per procedure in the United States. For men over 55, considering surgical intervention, the question of whether a $1 oil applied nightly for 14 days produces sufficient improvement to avoid a 5-figure surgical expense is a question worth asking before scheduling a consultation. The pharmaceutical hair loss industry did not need to suppress castor oil. It simply needed to ensure that every sponsored dermatology content piece, every hair loss clinic consultation, and every pharmacy shelf display promoted their products rather than a $1 natural compound that has been in continuous documented use for 3,500 years. Here is exactly what to do. This protocol is designed specifically for men over 55 and takes 5 minutes per evening. What you need: cold-pressed castor oil. Look for pure, hexane-free, cold-pressed castor oil. Available at any pharmacy, grocery store, or online retailer. A 16-ounce bottle costs between $3 and $6 and lasts approximately 3 to 4 months of daily use. A dropper or small applicator bottle for precise scalp application. An old pillowcase or towel for your pillow. Castor oil is thick and can stain bedding. Nightly application. Protocol. Step 1. Warm the oil place. Your bottle of castor oil in warm water for 5 minutes. Warm oil has lower viscosity and penetrates the scalp surface more effectively. Do not heat to hot. Warm to the touch is sufficient. Step 2. Apply to scalp. Using your dropper, apply approximately 1 teaspoon of warmed castor oil directly to the areas of greatest thinning. For most men over 55, this is the crown, the temples, and the frontal hairline. Apply the oil directly to the scalp skin, not to the existing hair. Step 3. Massage. Using your fingertips, massage the oil into the scalp for 2 to 3 minutes using firm circular motions. The massage serves 2 purposes. It distributes the oil evenly across the application area, and it increases blood circulation to the scalp surface, which enhances both oil absorption and nutrient delivery to the hair follicles. For men over 55, scalp circulation is typically reduced compared to younger years, and the massage component is particularly beneficial. Step 4. Leave overnight. Leave the oil on your scalp overnight. The extended contact time maximizes the ricinoleic acid absorption and PGE2 stimulation at the follicle level. Cover your pillow with an old towel or use a dedicated pillowcase. Step 5. Wash in the morning. Wash your hair normally in the morning. Castor oil is thick and may require 2 shampoo applications to remove completely. Use a gentle shampoo without sulfates where possible, as harsh surfactants can strip the beneficial oil residue that continues working between applications. Expected timeline for men 55 plus. Days 1 to 7, improved scalp feel, reduced dryness, reduced itching and irritation if present. The anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties produce noticeable scalp comfort improvement quickly. Days 7 to 14, reduced hair shedding during washing and brushing. This is typically the first measurable sign that follicle behavior is changing. Weeks 3 to 6, early regrowth visible as fine vellus hairs in previously thinning areas. These fine hairs indicate dormant follicles, re-entering the growth phase. Weeks 8 to 16, vellus hairs progressively thicken into visible terminal hairs. Overall hair density improvement becomes visible without close inspection. Realistic expectations? Castor oil is most effective on follicles that are dormant but still structurally intact. Areas that have been completely smooth and hair-free for years may have follicles that are permanently closed and will not respond. Areas of active thinning where fine or miniaturized hairs are still present respond best. For most men over 55, with progressive thinning rather than complete baldness, the protocol produces measurable improvement in the majority of documented cases. Enhancement. Combine with peppermint oil. A 2014 study published in Toxicological research confirmed that peppermint oil applied topically increased hair growth and follicle depth in test subjects more effectively than minoxidil. Adding 2 to 3 drops of peppermint essential oil to your nightly castor oil application provides an additional growth stimulus through increased scalp circulation. The tingling sensation confirms the circulation effect is active. Cost of adding peppermint oil, approximately 50 cents per month. The Egyptian physician who pressed castor seeds into oil and applied the result to a patient's thinning scalp in 1550 BC was working with 3,000 years less scientific understanding than we have today. He could not describe prostaglandin PGE2. He could not explain ricinoleic acid binding to follicular receptors. He could not cite a study from the Journal of Cosmetic Science. He knew it worked. He wrote it down. And 3,500 years later, the papyrus he wrote it on cites in a museum in Germany, while men over 55 in America spend $3.5 billion a year on pharmaceutical products that target the same biological pathway for $600 a year instead of $1 a bottle. The oil is at your pharmacy right now. It has been there your entire life. It costs less than the gas you burned driving past it on the way to the dermatologist. The knowledge is here. Subscribe and share this video. Every share reaches a man who will try the $1 bottle before the $600 annual prescription. Every subscription keeps this channel opening the vaults the pharmaceutical industry thought were sealed forever. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside will change how you look at the blood pressure reading at your next physical, and the 5-minute breathing technique that cardiology research confirmed reduces systolic pressure by 15 points without writing a single prescription.